All right, today we are going to go over the instructions for how to complete our article of the week. And we're actually going to go through this one together, and I will help you write your paragraph and everything. So just follow along with me, and then this should be pretty easy for you to get full credit on if you just follow along and do the things that I'm doing. So to start out with, I think that the easiest way to work, you can just work right here on this web page. I think it's a little easier if you open up the assignment in its own tab. And again, that's by just clicking this blue link right here. Don't make a copy, don't do anything funky, just click this little blue link and that will pop it open for you. Okay, so as a reminder, our article of the week always gets assigned on a Monday and it's due on a Friday. So every Monday, an announcement will go out to all the students, no matter if I have you for A day or B day or whatever, if you're virtual or in person. There will be a message that goes out to everyone on Monday that says, hey, here's the article of the week, it's published, here's where it is. Okay, so you can always start working on it as soon as you want to. It's not due until Friday. Okay, but this is something that happens every week. So if you fall behind on it, you're going to get really far behind, and that's not going to be good. So make sure that you're doing them and make sure that you're staying caught up on them. They are always going to have the title at the top and the due date so that you can always remember, okay? So the directions, these are going to be the same for the first several weeks. You're going to read and annotate the following article. So annotations is basically just making comments and questions and kind of marking up the article as you go. You can highlight, you can underline, you could even make comments using the comment tool, and I'll show you how to do all of that. You want to mark important information like main ideas, maybe places where you're confused or things that you find especially interesting. And then once you're done reading, you're going to write a one summary paragraph of the article, and you're going to use the Schaefer method to do that. And you will type that paragraph at the very bottom of the article. Okay, and as it says there, typically we don't give a lot of class time for this assignment, but since it is the first one, we're definitely going to do this one together. We might do the first couple together. We'll just kind of see how it goes. So this article is called Let 16-Year-Olds Vote for LA School Board. It's by Michael McDonald. It was published in the Los Angeles Times on May 8th, 2019. So as you're reading, like I mentioned, you want to stop every paragraph or so and just kind of think, what was interesting? What do I have questions about? What am I wondering? And either highlight, underline, add comments, all of those things to it. So I will kind of demonstrate for you some of my thinking, and then you can do the same thing on yours. I would love to see some of your own original thinking and not just copying down everything that I put, but I do know that this is the first one, so anything that you put down is great. You will be expected, though, part of your points that you get for this assignment is this annotation, so it's not optional. You have to do this, okay? I'm going to read through the article with you. Politicians pay attention to those who elected them, and it's a stubborn fact that young Americans vote at much lower rates than their elders. Data just released by the Census Bureau shows that even in the historically high turnout 2018 midterm election, the turnout rate for voters under 30 was half of that of persons over 60. When young people's participation lags badly, issues important to them, school safety, student loans, and climate change, among others, receive short shrift in the public discourse. A vicious cycle of disengagement ensues. Politicians don't bother to speak about the issues that matter to young people, so young people don't vote. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there. All right, so you want to, as you're reading, find things that you find interesting or that you have questions about. So for me personally, when I read this first paragraph, I'm wondering why this turnout rate is so much lower. So I'm going to highlight that. You could underline it if you prefer. And then you're going to, you see that if you, when you select some text, you'll see this kind of box or circle pop up over here. That's how you add a comment. So I'm going to add a comment that says, I wonder why it is so different. Okay, So again, you're just kind of making it clear to me that you're thinking about the article, that you have questions. Now that question kind of gets answered in the second paragraph, right? It says that because young people don't participate, then the things that are important to them don't get talked about. And then because the issues that are important to them aren't being talked about, then they don't vote, right? So to me, I think that's really interesting. So I'm going to also highlight this. Okay, and I'm also going to leave a comment. I'm wondering, how can we change this, right? Because it sounds like this is just this cycle that's going on. I would love to know what we could do to make it different. Let's keep reading. Empowering civic participation among young people is vital to the health of American democracy, and one method of doing that is now being considered by the Los Angeles Unified School District Board, lowering the voting age to 16 for school board elections. Turning 18 is not a magical threshold for civic participation. Los Angeles would follow places around the country that have already extended voting rights to persons under 18. 21 states, though not California, permit 17-year-olds to vote in the primaries if they will turn 18 by the general election. Berkeley recently followed the lead of the Maryland cities of Tacoma Park, Greenbelt, and Hyattsville to allow 16-year-olds to vote in school board elections. Okay, so let's stop there. What are some things that you think are interesting or important or that you have questions about? Go ahead and highlight them or add a comment or a question, whatever you want. I am going to personally highlight this because this seems like it kind of relates to the main idea. And I'm just going to comment main idea. Okay, because that's what the article was titled, right? So that's probably the main idea, is that this person thinks that maybe we should do this. Feel free to add other things, though, that you are interested in or that you have questions about. If you need to pause, you're welcome to. And then you can just resume when you're ready to keep going. Philadelphia and Montgomery County, Maryland, effectively lowered the voting age to 14 by allowing high schools to elect a full voting member to their local school board. So that means that you guys would be getting to vote for who's on the school board and who's making the decisions that affect you. That's not in the article, I'm just letting you know. Many other localities go almost that far by having students elect an advisory school board member. The long history of America's democracy is one of extending voting rights to interested communities with previously limited representation, the most recent example being lowering the national voting age from 21 to 18 in response to the Vietnam War draft. Students have a stake in the quality of their education, and they are the closest observers of what is happening in classrooms. The average student knows more about their community's schools than the average retiree, yet it is mostly the latter who are making decisions for the former. So that means that it's mostly the retirees that are making the decisions for the students. Okay? So again, pause the video if you need to. Take a minute and write down some comments. For me, I'm going to highlight this because to me, this doesn't seem fair. Right? It doesn't seem fair that someone who's not even in school gets to choose what happens to those of you who are in school. All right, let's keep reading. Further, lowering the voting age can address the chronic problem of low youth voter turnout by providing a teaching moment. California recently adopted a policy known as pre-registration, which extends voter registration to 16-year-olds, so they are already on the rolls as soon as they turn 18. As of last year, the California Secretary of State's office reported more than 200,000 young people had pre-registered to vote. Los Angeles can do even better by directly tying the act of registering to vote to casting an actual ballot. Florida, one of the first states to adopt pre-registration, requires election officials to conduct civic education activities in schools. Many Florida election officials work with high school teachers to hold voter registration contests among schools and mock elections to educate students about the mechanics and importance of voting. So let's stop here again, and you can mark down things that you found important, things that you are interested in, questions that you have. Pause the video if you need to, and then go ahead and mark those things down. For me, I am going to highlight this right here because I think this sounds like a great idea. Okay, let's keep reading. Florida's pre-registration program has a modest effect on youth participation because the act of registering is not immediately tied to the act of voting. Imagine then if Los Angeles election officials held real elections on high school campuses with voter registration opportunities and polling places. Civics teachers could explain the obligations of citizenship while students are voting. Candidates might come to speak to them. It's well established that voting is habit forming. Vote once and you are much more likely to vote again. The broken cycle of virtuous civic participation could thus be mended. So I'm going to stop right here because I asked a question up above about how can we fix this? And the article has just told me this is how we could fix the problem. Okay. And I also think that this is really important. Candidates might come to speak to the students. How wonderful would that be if the school board members were coming to your school and actually talking to you about their ideas? This would be so cool. Okay. Again, you put what you're thinking. You don't have to think what I think. You could think that sounds terrible. I don't want to do that. That's fine. You could put that down. I just want to see your thinking and your thoughts. All right, let's read the last two paragraphs. Disadvantaged communities would benefit the most from this approach. Right now, many teens' first voting opportunity doesn't come until after they've graduated from high school. College students are geographically concentrated and are thus easy to reach for campaigns' voter mobilization efforts. The tough nut to crack is the abysmal voter turnout for non-college youth. Lowering the voting age to 16 would help them learn the ins and outs of voting before they leave high school. For those who think young people are too incompetent to make election decisions, a voting age of 16 should be of little concern. Young people will be too incompetent to navigate the voting process too, right? But the truth is that detractors of lowering the voting age are very much afraid of the opposite, that young people will be empowered to vote and engage more broadly in public discourse. For a democracy, more people voting is a good thing. All right, so pause the video if you need to and find something that you find interesting or that you want to comment on in the last two paragraphs. So for me, I am going to highlight this right here because I'm going to say this would be a great benefit. Okay. All right, so now you've read the whole article and you have all of these things that you've highlighted that you found interesting or that you wonder about, and now you're ready to write your summary. So when we write a Schaefer paragraph and it's a summary, there's a couple of things that we want to do. The first thing that we want to do is make sure that we include the title of the article and the author's name in the topic sentence. Okay. Remember that your topic sentence is supposed to state the main idea. So what we're going to want to do is mention the author's name, mention the title of the article, and then say the main idea of the article. Okay, so the first two things are super easy, right? The title and the author's name. Those are given to us at the very top of the article, right here. Okay, so feel free to, as I'm writing this, pause the video and we're going to kind of write this together so yours can match mine exactly. You can do different things if you want to, but make sure you're following along and practicing how to do this. So I'm going to change my font to blue and I'm going to start in the article. Let 16-year-olds vote for LA School Board. Notice that every word in my title is capitalized except for the preposition for. Okay, I'm going to then say the author's name, Michael McDonald. Okay, so now I've said the title of the article and I've said the author's name. Now I'm going to use a strong action verb. So I'm not just going to say, he says, right? I want to use something strong. So I'm going to say that he argues. You could say he explains. You could say that he demonstrates, he illustrates. There's all sorts of words you can use, but I'm going to use argues. That, and then what's the main idea of the article? So the main idea, remember we found up here, and it says that the voting age should be lowered to 16 for school board elections. So that's what I'm going to put. He argues that the voting age should be 16 for school board elections, period. Now I have my topic sentence completed. Okay, so now that I have a topic sentence, I need to find a concrete detail that proves that topic sentence. So I need to look back in the article and I need to find maybe a quote or something that the author says that proves that he thinks that 16-year-olds should be able to vote, or that it would be a good thing, okay? So let's look through here. Okay, so I think that I'm going to, I think I'm going to pick this right here where it says lowering the voting age to 16 would help them learn the ins and outs of voting before they leave high school. Now, I don't want to just take that whole quote and plop it into my paragraph because that's not going to sound very good. So what I need to do is to have a sentence starter. I'm going to change my text to red because that is what we use for concrete details. And I want to say, you could say something like, for example, or you could say, McDonald's states because, this is what he's saying. What I'm going to do is, let's see, how do I want to do this? I'm going to say he, because I'm referring to Michael McDonald, the author, okay, he believes that, and then I'm going to put my quote in. Lowering the voting age to 16 would help them learn the ins and outs of voting before they leave. Okay. All right. Now I need to I need to cite my quote. So I'm going to do that by putting the author's last name in parentheses. Okay. So now I have a concrete detail, right? Michael McDonald is arguing that the voting age should be 16, and then I'm providing a concrete detail that proves that he thinks that the voting age should be 16 for school board elections, not for like president or anything like that. Now I want to have some commentary sentences. So I want to explain more. I want to offer analysis. I want to show how this concrete detail that I picked here proves what I'm saying in my topic sentence. So I'm going to turn my font to green. And I am going to, let's see, what do I want to say? I'm going to have to think about it for a second. Okay, so since I want to tie my concrete detail back to my topic sentence, and in my topic sentence I talk about school board elections, I want to make sure that I mention the school board elections in my commentary sentences. Now, commentary sentences are supposed to be, they are supposed to be your words only. So you don't want to add more quotes from the article in your commentary sentences. You want that to be your own words and explanation. So I'm going to say, students, maybe, am I typing? What's going on? Okay. Students, there we go, are greatly affected by the decisions made by the school board. Right? I'm going to keep adding on to this actually. So they should have a voice in who gets elected. Okay, so now I'm referring back to that school board idea in the topic sentence. Now I need to have another commentary sentence because remember you need to have 2 commentary sentences for every concrete detail. So in this one, I'm going to kind of tie in the idea that then students will already know how to vote. Voting in school board elections also prepares students to vote in local and national elections when they turn 18. Go ahead and spell the word national correctly. That would be helpful. Okay, so now I have 2 commentary sentences, and my commentary sentences add extra analysis to this concrete detail and explain how it supports the main idea that the voting age should be 16 for school board elections. Now I need to go ahead and switch back to blue for my concluding sentence. Now my concluding sentence needs to restate the main idea of the article. So if you remember, we said the main idea is that the voting age should be 16 for school board elections. Okay, I can't say it in exactly those words because I can't just repeat myself. So I'm going to have to put it into a different way of phrasing it, and I might even try to refer back to some of these things that I included here. Okay, so there's lots of different ways that you can do this. What I'm going to do is say for McDonald, and again, that's the author's last name. Why is that my for McDonald? That's the author's last name. Voting. Let's see. I'm gonna back up. See, even teachers don't write perfectly the first time. This is my dog whining. Hi, Doug. What's wrong? This is Doug. He's whining about something. Okay, so I didn't like where I was headed with that, and that's fine. You know, it's fine to start a sentence and then decide, nope, don't like that, and start something over. So I'm going to go with something just a little bit simpler, like this is just one reason why McDonald believes high school students should be able to vote for school board. Okay, so that's not like the best concluding sentence that I've ever written, I'll be honest, but it does its job. It restates the main idea in different words than we used. Obviously, some of the words you're not going to be able to do differently, right? Like school board, I'm not going to look up some crazy other word to use for school board when it's easier to just say school board. But I'm not saying the exact same thing that I said in my topic sentence, and that is the point that I'm trying to get at there. So here is an example of a paragraph. Feel free to pause the video, copy this down, and use this to turn in. That would, be automatically, you would have great full points for this. If you want to change some things up, if you would like to write things in a different way, still following the Schaefer method, that's wonderful. You're welcome to do that. But since this was our first one, I did want to go through it step by step with you. If you have questions, please feel free to call into a Zoom question and answer time. Oh my gosh, do you guys hear my dog? This dog is ridiculous. Call into a Zoom question and hour time or question and answer time. Oh my goodness. Send me a message on Canvas or shoot me an email.